Good morning, everyone. For quiz number 7, I would like to just go over a few things towards the end of the quiz. Everything else is stuff that we've covered in previous videos, so if you're still stuck, go back and watch some of the old videos. I've also removed a few questions that I feel like you guys have mastered. A few of you, a few people may have missed, but for the most part, most of you guys are getting things like RGB and client goals and target audience and stuff like that. So I've removed a few questions just to give you guys less to think about since you know some of that stuff. So anyways, I want to talk briefly about some of the different tools so that you can see what the tools do without having to try it yourself, and then go from there to answer the questions. So first thing I want to show you guys is the brush tool, and show you guys how it differs from the paint bucket tool and the mixer brush and the pencils. So here's the paintbrush. Actually, it's kind of hard to see, so I'm going to zoom in a whole bunch. This canvas I have here. You can adjust the size here. I can paint with different hardnesses and softnesses and different sizes and whatnot, and there's presets as well. So I can go in now. Whoops. I'm not sure why I meant to stay on brush. Here we go. So I can go in and I can adjust the size, the hardness, etc. So there's the paintbrush tool, and I'm using basically whatever my foreground color is there, and you can change the opacity and all that stuff. So that's the regular paintbrush. I'm going to back up a little bit. I'll leave one up there. There you go. Oh, let me make a new layer again. By the way, just a reminder, new layer is that button right there where my little finger is down there. And so I'll draw that again. Alright, got one circle here. Alright, so the next thing I want to show you is the paint bucket tool, which you should know by now is underneath the gradient. Paint bucket fills an area that's all one color or that doesn't have any colors whatsoever. There are no pixels in this part of this layer, but it will fill it with that color. There will be, for this, since I have a soft edge and there's a slight difference in the shade there, it's going to be a little different. I can change that by adjusting the tolerance. So I can do like a tolerance of 100 and it'll go more and more in there, or I can do a tolerance of 500, and whoops, that doesn't go that high. 255 is as high as it goes, but if I click it again, there you go. So that's the paint bucket, and then of course, and that uses the current foreground color, although I can change that to a pattern up there. Mixer brush tool, if I were to have two different colors and go to the mixer brush, let me find it, it's going to be on here. That allows me to, simulate different materials like dry brushes, and it also kind of mixes colors together. So if I change the wetness here, you can see it kind of blends it in a little bit more with the green. I don't know if you can see that really, but I'll zoom in. We'll see if you can. Yeah, you can see it's kind of a little lighter than the black there. So you can make adjustments. I can hit mix here, and it does it even more. So it gives it more of like a kind of a paint effect. So that's the mixer brush tool. And then the pencil tool, which looks like a pencil. It's under the paintbrush as well. That gives you a hard edge, just like a regular pencil would. And I can make it bigger and smaller. You can see it's, if I were to zoom in really close, It's a lot rougher and pixelated compared to the softness of the paintbrush. And then there's the history brush tool, which allows us to, if you don't know by now, hopefully you will by today, allows you to go back a step or to somewhere in the past, and wherever you click, we can actually go back to here. Wherever you paint, it undoes it. So I can undo specific things. It's not going to get rid of the first brush tool thing, because that's what I'm going back to. That's the state I'm going back to. So wherever I paint now, it's doing that. Alright, so it allows you to go to a previous state. And then there's the art history brush tool, which allows you to do stylized strokes along with it. So I can go back to paint bucket, and now you can see it's doing something fancy pants. It's dabbing. There's tight short. There's tight medium. I can do tight curl. Gives you a little spiral thing, and you can see it also kind of blends the colors that are in that area. And then there's loose curl. So that basically paints using a stylized stroke data from a previous state. Alright, so I'm going to back up a little bit here, and I need to zoom out of this anyways. So what I am going to do is I'm going to show you how you can like fit everything onto the screen. So there's a few ways. If I go view, fit on screen, I can do it that way. I can also go view 100%, and we get what it would look like at 100%. If I could do Control 0 on my keyboard, that also fits on screen. I also want to show you guys how to adjust the vibrance for a specific layer. So it's not going to be as noticeable with this kind of thing because it's not a photo, but if I wanted to adjust the vibrance, I could do that by going into adjustments. And vibrance is this one. It's grayed out for the purposes of what I have up here, because I have all vector or object layers that can't, smart object layers that can't be edited with the vibrance the way things are. They'd have to be rasterized first. It's also not available in CMYK mode, which reminds us that everything that you need is in Photoshop. The most options are available with RGB mode, not CMYK. Alright, so last thing, flattening images. If I want to take all my layers and make them into one layer, which will in effect destroy the original data, so I can't edit this stuff anymore. It's a destructible edit. To flatten my image, I just go to the layer menu, and then I go down to the bottom where it says flatten image, and boom, all of those are turning into one layer. There's rare times when you'd use that, unless you were done with the file and you knew you weren't going to do any more editing with it. Otherwise, if you do that, you're getting rid of a bunch of data. I'm going to actually end up undoing it in a second. Anyways, that is today's brief explanation video. So I hope you guys are doing well, and make sure when you finish doing your Socrative, or if you prefer me to say Socrative, then once you finish that, go ahead and go into Geometrics and continue working on your training mode. If you're done with training mode, move on to testing mode. We are now in the final sprint of this. Don't lose your pace. I want to see all of you guys come out on top. I am looking forward to calling you guys certified Adobe Certified Associates. Alright, have a good one.